Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aircraft Certification Channel. I'm Rafaela Caillaux, and today we'll be talking about the impacts of the pandemic in the certification process. And to talk about this subject, we brought a special guest, Hélio Albino, who is cabin safety specialist and founder of the 3Aero Engineering. If you like aircraft development and certification, please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell to receive a notification every time we upload a new video. So welcome on board and enjoy your journey. Hello, Hélio, how are you?
Hello, Rafaela, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. So thanks for being here with us today to talk about this really important subject. Before we start, could you please introduce yourself?
First of all, hello everyone. I'm Hélio Albino. I am a mechanical engineer with more than 20 years on the road, mostly in the aerospace industry. My main actuation was through interior systems, in-flight entertainment, and aircraft doors, managing suppliers and developing these equipment. And since 2018, I am a GR from ANAC, that we call here in Brazil PCP. And now I'm starting my own company of engineering and consultancy, 3Aero in Portuguese, 3Aero in English. And I'm very glad to be here with you.
Okay, so thanks again for being here. And since we're going to talk about the pandemic impacts, so let's start talking about the aviation market itself.
First of all, we have to consider this new scenario in the world. Companies realize the effectiveness of the remote meetings, right? So this new market coming, we will not need so many business trip, right? And we have people locked down at home, and this demand for leisure tourism holding. So it will lead for a new flight profile, changing airline services, right? And this change of airline service will have less requests for executives or business services and more tourism services. So this will lead to new cabin configurations, new services, even the choice of new aircraft models, and to you assemble your fleet, your own fleet. So I believe that we have a change in the market, like we saw after the September 11 events, and I would say a deeper movement, a deeper change movement in comparison with that event 20 years ago. Okay, so what can lead these new flight profiles, these new markets that is coming, right? First of all, they may push new aircraft models, or you adapt the current on development models for this new market, right? And also we have the adaptation of the current aircraft for this new model. I was just this week seeing some changes in the cabin, OEMs and interior suppliers showing configuration with less seats, more space, or more cabinets, solutions for the current aircraft that usually would have like 200 passengers. They are going to 120 or something like that. Okay. But I believe that people did not realize this completely, or they realize they are studying and not showing what they are doing, because what we see on the news more is OEM companies focusing new propellers, new fuel solutions, electric power. But looking to the final customer, we don't see concern to have a next step on the cabin design, right? I'm not talking about industrial design. I'm talking about engineering design, doing something different, right? To make the business profitable. Only these current cabin adaptations for this new scenario to give more space to the passenger, but not the next step that we know that some companies, I studied this in the beginning of years 2000, but they did not move ahead. And one of the reasons was because of the certification basis that was applied in that moment.
Yeah, with the pandemic, we had to deal with social distancing and being not able to travel and to really do presential meetings. So we had to learn how to use all these virtual tools to do virtual meetings and so on. And you foresee an increase in the tourism and not kind of changing the profile of the passengers that will be traveling around. And the question is how to deal with the lack of confidence of people so they can start flying again, at least in a higher rate.
Okay, so the market indications and when you talk with the people, you should not expect to have the market in the same level so soon. Some specialists are expecting next year, 2022, to have a big increase. Just yesterday, I saw Airbus send a message to their suppliers to expect an increase of 18% of production. Also, we know about other OEMs doing the same, but we will not be in the same level that was the past, in my opinion, because of these points that we raised. And also we have the concern of people to travel, right? So the first moment people will travel if they really need to travel, because in every family, we have someone that could be considering the group of risk. I take my personal example. I have my youngest son. He's with Down syndrome. He's really healthy, considering the syndrome. But I don't know if his mother will be happy if I say, "Oh, I will take our airplane next week" or something like that, and then I come back, because people still are still afraid to be exposed. So, and this feeling, I believe, in general, will keep for at least the next year, right? Until we have everybody with access to the vaccine, right? So, as I said, the industry needs to go further in the design for the passenger areas, right? And not only the airlines into the aircraft, but also in the whole service. Since the moment that the people arrive in the airport, grab your bag, dispatch them, go with the equipment or with the bag inside of the cabin or inside of the airport, all this will be a problem. For example, would you use a ticket today? Would you touching something that you received from the company? No, you would need to use your mobile, things like that, right? So all this will be our life in the next years, and we have to be prepared for solutions with acceptable costs in this new scenario, right? And we also have to adapt the current aircraft until we have the new ones, right? With the new concepts, new technologies, and features that make people fly safer, of course, but also feel that they are safer. And we have new technologies that you can bring to the aerospace, maybe adapting these or using these, like you see those UV robots inside of the cabin. Maybe the next step will be integrate this to the LED light. We have the HEPA filter, all the touchless that I was working in project of a full lavatory touchless in 2013, 2014. And people say, yeah, it's nice. Today's everybody's on, yeah, everybody now it's touchless. We are working on this, working on that. So it's marketing always demand the product, right?
Yeah.
But I believe that we have to work on this, the design and application of this technology of the aircraft into the aircraft.
So let's talk about the certification process itself. So what are the impacts that you foresee coming shortly in the short term?
Mm-hmm. I believe that we have a group of requirements that we need to be revisited. I'm not saying change it, or I'm not saying something radical, but revisit and see their interpretation, okay, to incorporate these new features, these new technologies, and also the certification procedures. And today, this last part is one thing that really concerns me, because it's always easier to be on the safe side, right? But sometimes I'll do a complaint here, usually from the guys that work on this side of the certification process. The rule make process takes a long time because need to be discussed with the industry. It's okay. But I believe that also we would have to work in somehow to make the rule make process easier and faster. Okay, so this for me is really important.
Actually, yeah, the rule-making process is really a slow process because it's a collaborative process, and you need to involve different stakeholders and all the industry and authorities together to discuss before issuing a final rule. So I don't foresee this changing in the short term, but the authorities, they have tools to address the concerns even before the rule being issued. So I think they can maybe expedite the process of using those tools as a intermediate solution.
Let's go back to the impacts, right?
Yeah.
And I will take the example that is the technology that I have more knowledge, right? And I would take this as an example because of the human factor, and now everything is related to the human factor and human interaction, right? But in the interiors, right? Basically, the interiors that involve a lot of human factors and subjective judgments, right? To show compliance with requirements, we need to test involve several people sometimes as well, when not only test subjects, but also authorities representatives and also the engineers together on that. Okay? Mm. Which would be the next step to show compliance with these applicable requirements without using people and put these people in a crowded situation, right? Yeah. Let's take the example. The evacuation demonstration is the ultimate situation, right? That you simulate an emergency condition with the people leaving the aircraft. We have some component certification that we need people, like the escape slide. We have evacuation tests during day, during night. That's the dark of night test. and you also simulate a lot of people crowded. And sometimes, depending on the escape slide, you need 3 or 6 people over the escape slide in the same second. So all these are tests that we need. People like the emergency doors tests, you need people to validate the current designs, right? Because you see the interaction with the handle, interaction with the load to push the door. And I only can imagine the test. Every time that someone touches the door, you go with the spray with alcohol there, and
yeah, it's not feasible, I guess. Yeah.
And also we have some tests, very specific tests, like the floor proximity test it's a long test that you have several people come inside of the aircraft in a closed environment. It's really complicating this pandemic situation. So when you talk about this, and just talk about the cabin, right? I'm not talking about the cockpit and other parts, right? That we also see this human factor evaluation. So in this hard scenario, how to do it, right? And in my opinion, we need to use the virtual tools, right, to understand this, because we have now the 4.0 industry, and we have simulations of everything. All the industry is going to that. And again, as I said, we visited the requirements to allow the use of that and the means of compliance. Because if you see, let's talk about the evacuation demo. The requirement 803C is written there. You can use a simulation or a combination of simulation tests or only tests is written there. So you don't need to change the requirement, but you have to discuss the way of application and the acceptance of that. That's why I'm raising that. Okay.
Yeah, I think the big question here is how to produce and generate accurate data without kind of calibrating your model with a real test. So maybe for the companies that have already performed evacuation tests and gathered data of their aircraft, it would be easier to go through this path, and it would be harder for the ones that are doing for the first time. So it's only new development. But yeah, you're right. I think those are questions that we need to discuss.
But the data is there. We have several institutions that they have database, very good database. And for me, we need to as I said, revisit how we would use that. Let me say, we have CAMI, FAA CAMI, that they publish public documentation of their tests since the 90s, right? You have tests with evacuation, you have tests with the door, you have tests with escape slides, with single lane, dual lane. So they have data that they are public and you could use to substantiate that, right? Greenwich University, as an example, also they studied since beginning of 2000 or before that, simulations of evacuation of aircraft, buildings, and ships. So the data is there. Is how you use that, right? I know that, for example, Greenwich University, they have more than 2,000 accidents in their data bank. So again, the data is there, the requirements is there. Is do we realize how would be in a safer way? I'm not saying to cross this line of the safer. Always look to the safer side, to see how we use this data that's available to develop new products in this situation of pandemic. Oh, this pandemic will end and we'll go back to the normal life. I don't believe so that it will be so fast. So we'll have some years of some changes on this behavior. So we have to think about that. Okay. And I'm talking about the OEMs, but talk about the suppliers of the parts. They also can go to the big data, look for these institutions that do this kind of research, and maybe get parts of this data and work and present as a substantiation. Of course, you see the opposite I said. We need to evolve into the cabin design, do something new things, right? But at the same time, I say, look, there are some solutions that we need to keep as it is because of the data. So these are the challenges that we have in the future, and we have to think how to use in each one, right?
So, Hélio, how do you see the next steps to cope with this challenge brought by the pandemic? So what are the things that you foresee coming to try to overcome these issues?
In the certification process, if you take an example, an aircraft inspection, something very common, right? One thing in this certification process or the approval process is to develop the remote inspection. Okay, today we have a different approach from the authorities. EASA, for example, they accept with some conditions the remote inspection. FAA has a letter with a lot of limitations, right? And there is this discussion around the world, around the authorities, what is applicable or not. You know, most of the authorities representatives, usually they have a lot of experience, so they are in the average age above 50, above 40, and after 40 you start to have some problems and then you cannot be exposed. So I believe that, jokes apart, but I believe that we should evolve in this process of the inspection, for example, or not only inspection of the cabin, but also the witnessing parts tests, witnessing not only for the interiors, but all the aircraft. And the applicant should provide ways to have the better feeling of the test and the better witness. Not, I will put my mobile here and you take a look. No, use high HD cameras, not only one, because one you show what you want, right? But one for the scenario, what is happening, what's not. But discuss this and increase this remote situation that we are living today to get confidence, to give confidence to the authorities to, at the end, approve the final report and all this. So I believe that if we should also review these means of compliance of the witnessing.
This pandemic brought some challenges and took us all out of our comfort zone. And now we have to rethink the way we do things to come up with some creative solutions to deal with the social distancing and actually to try to do things remotely and so on. So, yes. Yeah. So, Hélio, thank you very much for being here with us. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us and bringing your view of these aspects and how the pandemic brought some other issues to the aircraft certification.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. And let's work, right? Let's work behind the cameras for now. I'm missing a lot to travel because I used to travel a lot, to travel to a lot of places. But I believe that with our knowledge, I mean, the humankind, we will find a solution for all this. We will go back to the airports. We will go back to see people. Just one little note. I have a friend in Germany, in the beginning of this pandemic, he was really concerned and said, Hélio, do you believe we will see each other one day? I said, don't worry, we will have a beer. Don't worry. It's just a matter of time. We will have a beer. But I think everything will be fine. And for the guys that are coming to this world of certification and world of aircraft, right? Because I tried to leave the aerospace industry and I could not, right? Because we always complain, right? We always complain, but never leave this. I just study a lot. I spent my first 5 years studying a lot, and use your creativity and the power to convince people to do the right thing. And then everything will be fine. Everything will be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Hélio, thanks again. If you want to contact Hélio directly, his link will be in the description area. So thanks for watching and see you in the next video.